Welcome. This is a free-form movie review, and we're going to be talking about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice that just came out. So, yeah, what'd you think?
Well, I loved it. I think that the first movie or the second movie overall, had a similar vibe right off the bat from that beginning establishing shot. It really gave me the nostalgia that I remember from the first movie, and I just loved it.
Yeah. I would say that personally I'm still a fan of the original one a little more, but I think that there's definitely some elements still that, felt like the original. Like you said, that establishing shot, like it's talking about the overhead shot, like through the town, and then where it goes into the little, miniature house or whatever. That was definitely a nice touch. And they also added like Dutch angle shot. For those of you who don't know, cinematography talk. It's kind of where they tilt the angle. I know a lot of cinematographers don't really like it because it can be really abrupt in a movie or something. But I feel like with Tim Burton's style, like the whimsical, that it works pretty well.
Yeah, something I appreciate about Tim Burton is the fact that he's not afraid to do the unconventional if he feels like, doing something different could really add to a scene.
Definitely. So we do one good thing. Well, before I get into that, I will say, for one, this is going to be a spoiler review. So, if you're worried about that, watch the movie first before you watch this, or you can just skip and see what we say at the end. But I will say that it is a lot darker, in my opinion, than the first movie. Like, I think they mentioned like Wiccan stuff. There's a scene where it shows more of paranormal type stuff, and it seems more like almost like a horror movie to me. You know what I'm talking about, where it shows like the green camera. But and a little more gory too with blood. So I'd just be a little iffy of, if you're taking kids to see it, like maybe make sure they're a teenager. I'm pretty sure it's PG-13.
Right.
But one good thing, the actors.
Yes, we although it's after all this time, one thing that can stay consistent is the actors. We've got Winona Ryder with her role as Lydia Dietz. I can't remember the stepmom's real name, but I know her character's name is Dahlia. And of course, we have Michael Keaton playing Beetlejuice, iconic as always. And then, of course, unfortunately, we don't have the Maitlands. They decided that due to some, inabilities to make them look a similar age, they decided to move on from them. And then we have, briefly, we had her, Lydia's father. Maybe not completely, him, but we kind of had him briefly.
Oh, right. I will say, like the Maitland thing, I was kind of interested to see if they was going to bring them back. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's completely needed because it is.
Story.
Yeah, it is their story. Right. But, yes, so right off the bat, we have Winona Ryder, or Lydia.
It's good that she's back. I mean, well, of course she was going to be back. It's a given. But, hey, we got to see her be that, teenager, that gothic girl, the isolated person that she was. But now she's doing something that, maybe wasn't fully expected, but it kind of fits. She's on. She has a talk show, and she's talking about ghosts.
Right. But she does seem kind of more like a paranoid mom, a little bit more so in this one. And I think it could be because more so the trauma and having to deal with all of that. You see her taking pills in the bathroom with her, whatever that's supposed to be, her weird boyfriend.
Weird boyfriend or fiance or whatever he is, and he even tried to tell her no, which his character was weird, but I will say, I do admire the fact that he told her no. Now, it just sucked that he kind of gave in, but he was trying to be empathetic to the situation, I guess. But then it transitions to her mom, and we kind of see that she's still the same person she was all those years ago. She's self-centered still, and she's kind of just all into her artwork.
You mean stepmom?
Yeah, stepmom, right.
Yeah, and I think that kind of fit her character too, because it's just like as she got older, she just got even crazier with her art or whatever.
Right.
I think it said something about body art or something.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
it was weird.
Yeah, but then you get to find out about, you know,
Her
husband.
dad, man. Which I knew that from the first movie. You know, he was big on animals. He had all those different, you know, things hanging on his walls and stuff like that. But I didn't know it was specifically bird watching.
Right. I guess in his older age, maybe. I don't
Yeah, birds of a feather flock together. Why couldn't he have, you know, his wife following him everywhere instead of leaving her with her body art, whatever.
I guess.
But yeah, we
Maybe
see
he
him.
was trying to get away from this.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Oh, good lord. But
And in the end, I got him.
yeah, literally. Because of course, you know, he's out of the plane, and I guess it crashed or whatever, and they're in the ocean. And it was funny too, because like, dang, he died from a plane crash, and she's like, no. Oh, he drowned. No.
Right.
He got eaten by a shark.
Right.
You know, so that was crazy. Which we got to see him in the afterlife, and that was funny.
Well, I will say the funeral was how they implemented the old song was kind of a nice touch. I thought, or kind of.
I
funny.
laughed.
Yeah.
I laughed.
So did I. But
I couldn't take it serious.
right. But I know you wanted to talk about the daughter.
Of course. I mean, I love Jenna Ortega. She's great at what she does. You know, it's nice seeing her in Wednesday, and I was really, you know, interested in how she was going to portray Lydia Dietz's daughter, Astrid.
For sure.
Right off the bat, we see her, you know, in school, and she's kind of like her mom in some ways. She's isolated, doesn't really seem to have any friends or anything like that. But of course, you know, we see her get picked on, but she's not into the supernatural as much as her mom was in the first movie.
Right. I've never watched much of Wednesday. I think I did the first few episodes, but I think it was a pretty, you know, smart choice picking her for that. She just, I don't know, the whole gothic look kind of seems like she.
It comes natural to her for sure.
Right.
For sure.
So, yeah. Then after that,
no, we kind of see the man himself. Well, his prehistory, really.
yeah.
He's got
backstory.
Yeah, and of course, you know, you think Beetlejuice is crazy, and if he has a love interest, you got to think she's got to be as crazy, if not more crazy.
Right.
And it turns out she was, you know, more crazy than what we could have expected. We see that, you know, she's all in pieces, and of course, you know, she comes out of her shell and puts herself back together, and she's coming with it for vengeance.
Danny DeVito too. I didn't know he was going to be in this.
Yeah,
that was
no
kind of
clue.
interesting.
No
But,
clue. And to be honest, I was more disturbed by what actually happened to realize that was actually him at first.
yeah. But yeah, I thought it was interesting though that they tried to give Beetlejuice a little more of a backstory. But it did kind of feel like they was trying to do more of a build up with her character or make her seem, you know, more like she was going to be a main villain or something. But to me, it felt like there was a few different split offs or different stories that they was trying to do within it.
Yes, I was expecting her to be, instead of spending all that time looking for Beetlejuice, I was expecting her to actually be, like, just some more interaction between the two.
Yeah, definitely. But Michael Keaton, I felt like he still definitely delivered, even though
he brought it.
Yeah, even though he's in his freaking 70s now. I feel like definitely in the first movie, obviously, was a little more energetic and stuff, but, you know, granted his age, like I said, he still did pretty well.
No, for sure. I love Michael Keaton. It's you know, really good that even after all this time, he still, you know, got it. Which I always applaud actors in general because, you know, after not doing something for so long and then trying to, like, bring that character to life, I wonder if it was, like, a challenge for him or if he just naturally was able just to, you know, go get it.
Right. Yeah, that is an interesting thought. But what do you think about William Dafoe's character?
Okay, you know, being a big Spider-Man guy, I love him as, you know, the Green Goblin.
Right.
And I know he's been in other stuff, and, you know, he's really good, a great actor, like, nothing against him at all. But it feels like they just called him on a random Wednesday, asked him if he wanted to be a part of the show or the movie, and it seemed like they just randomly, they just brought him in there to be there.
Yeah, just because he's a bigger name actor. That's what it kind of felt like to me, like just to try to gain more interest in the movie. I was going to say, because you brought up Spider-Man, when he was like, because he was supposed to be an actor too, his character in it, or pretending to be like a cop or whatever. When he was looking in the mirror or like practicing those lines, I was expecting him to say, "Avenge me!"
Yes, because of what he did in Spider-Man 1.
Yeah,
I would have laughed so hard.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
But
Uh,
then let's see what happens after that. Is that when it goes into the?
the funny thing too is that he died because of a grenade.
Yeah.
You know, like it exploded on the side of his face, so you actually
True.
see the side of his head.
True.
You know, so
One of the pumpkin bombs. Or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly,
Right.
exactly. Love me some Spider-Man. Sorry.
Right.
But yeah, so we have Beetlejuice doing that,
Was
and
it the wedding?
yes, the
After
wedding. Well, before we even dive into the wedding, of course, because we had the funeral, as you were talking about the singing and how funny that was. You know, of course, the stepdad has got to make everything about him and tries to, you know, get married to Lydia.
Right.
And that causes Astrid to go on her own, and she nearly gets hit by a car. And of course, they love, you know, for the younger generation, they got to bring in the teenage romance. So there she goes, crashes, and of course, some pretty boy comes out from his treehouse to save the day.
Yeah, which at first I was kind of like, ugh, man, I want to see more Beetlejuice, so we really got to do this love interest thing. But I will say that it kind of adds an interesting twist on it. It's not just a typical teen romance type thing.
Well, for sure. And, you know, I was immediately kind of skeptical about the kid. But he just played his role. Whoever plays that role is Jeremy. He did a really good job of being very nonchalant. We kind of see him, you know, tell Astrid, like, hey, my mom and dad aren't going to freak out about the fence. They don't really pay attention to me. We see him go inside the house and take her in there, and they say hi, and nobody even, like, bats an eye or pays attention to the kid. So you really start to feel for the kid. And you see him with the recently deceased book, which we saw in the first movie, and that's usually how people can see the ghost. But of course, he pulls it off as, oh, I found this in a book sale. And so I didn't even think, you know, second guess him, really.
Right. So it's kind of like, I think we was talking about it before. It's kind of like, did Astrid develop that ghost seeing ability from her mom, or did she?
Yes.
Or did she already have it?
Yes, because Lydia had to see, that's how Lydia saw Adam and Barbara. She saw the book. And, you know, it just didn't make sense of like, oh, she crashed into the tree. Mm-hmm. And then she could see him. Like, that didn't make sense. So I definitely think that it was inherited from her mom.
Yeah, it could be. Or maybe it was just a specific type of, like, ghost or something that she, I don't know, had to connect with her in some way or something. But maybe because she really wanted a boyfriend, who knows? Even though it didn't really dive into that. But
right.
Regardless, I don't think, even in the first movie, that they answered every little question that you may have had. But
no, it's Beetlejuice.
Right, it's a Tim Burton movie. So it is kind of, like we said, kind of whimsical, random. But, you know, it's pretty funny, family entertainment for the most part. Like I said, as long as you ain't really little, or because there is more blood in this one. But, so then...
Well, I'm looking at our little guy. I'm looking at our little guy here. And it immediately makes me think about, you know, the scene. Because you have that guy, you have the stepdad, and of course, you know, he's trying to act all focused on his relationship, you know, because I guess their therapist said something about a barrier. So, of course, he says Beetlejuice 3 times, and boom. We got Beetlejuice being a therapist. We've got him literally popping out a baby Beetlejuice out of, which, that was a little overkill, but it was funny.
Yeah, I'd say it was a little much when it first showed it, like, busting out of the stomach. But I think later on it was kind of funny because it was like a dream, you know, at the end when Lydia wakes up or whatever. But
right, and so that ends up happening with, you know, Beetlejuice finally gets unveiled, but it turns out Lydia might actually need Beetlejuice, you know, in the long run, a little bit more than what we were expecting. It turns out that Astrid's, you know, lover boy isn't who he is, or isn't what we thought he was. You know, they have a little intimate moment, and turns out he's a ghost, and he's trying to pull the same card from good old Beetlejuice.
Which I do kind of like how they did that with his parents, though. Like, how when Astrid first walks in, and it just kind of shows mom with her head down and stuff, so you don't realize that they were all killed.
Right.
They killed them or whatever. Until later, and you see the stuff stuck in their head or
That's
whatever.
That's funny, too, because he did kill them.
Yeah.
And we know from the first, you know, movie that, you know, the ghost.
Wait, it's funny that he killed them.
Well, no. Well, what's yeah, I'm sorry. Words matter. My bad. But what's interesting though is we know from the first movie that the ghost did have recollection of their memories. So why were the ghosts so, like, why were his parents so, like, okay with him?
Yeah, it makes me wonder too, kind of like the Maitlands, how they was kind of stuck in their house or didn't want to leave their house at first. Maybe after so long since it was all dead, they just kind of built that relationship again, or was okay with each other.
It
or
makes
something.
sense. It does make sense. But we see that he wants to get married to, or he wants to have a similar process with Astrid because that's how he can come back to life. But
Swapping their.
yes, but apparently what he didn't know is about the loophole because that supposedly in the beginning or later on, Lydia says that the Maitlands were able to move on to heaven or whatever because they found a loophole that allowed them to go on in peace. And so that was interesting. They actually brought that up. I'm glad they did. So Jeremy tricks Astrid, and she ends up going to the afterlife with him, and he literally ends up causes them to switch positions.
Yeah, but like you said, that's kind of how, unironically, no one wants Beetlejuice to show up, but just his character, he still ends up, kind of helping them in that way.
Well, of course, with conditions, because Beetlejuice always has a trick up his sleeve.
Right.
We see him make Lydia sign a contract with
Wants
literally
to marry
her
her
blood.
still.
Wants to
Right.
marry her still. We even see her, Beetlejuice make a pact with her mom. Which, how do you feel
Right.
about that little ritual she did? Like, she ordered vipers, or whatever things they were,
Yeah.
because she wanted to be with her husband, or acted like she wanted to, and she got her wish.
Yeah. That was kind of crazy, though. Like, I'm not sure if I fully caught it though, because she said they were supposed to be defanged.
Yes.
Did it say where she got them from again?
No idea. They were just supposed to be defanged, and then,
Yeah.
literally.
But then I think we do get the wedding scene, right?
Yes.
Or goes into right. So I felt like them. You know how they did the original like lip sync type thing to the song in the original movie. I felt like there was still some funny parts, like kind of when he was like singing and playing guitar.
Yes.
Like a love ballad almost. But that part was definitely funny, but I still feel like the original, it's going to be the original. It might have dragged a little too long in this,
No, I
in my
agree.
opinion. But
I agree. It did seem long. Like, it was definitely extended. Just because I don't know if I really care for the pacing of it. It just was just dragged out. But it did bring a funny moment, though. I mean,
the
yes.
true serum.
Yes, the true serum. This guy, Rory, we thought he really loved, Lydia, but of course it just fell off. Too good to be true. Turns out Beetlejuice, stabs that guy with the truth serum.
Right.
And he's just rambling on. Like, I'm with you for the fame. I'm with you for
Right.
this, yada, yada, yada. Oh, I only go to this retreat because I'm looking for a desperate, weak woman.
Right.
Like, jeez.
So Astrid was right.
Astrid was right.
So.
Your kids will tell you the truth. Somebody will, at least, right? And, of course, when Lydia knocks him out. Love
Right.
that. It was hilarious.
Right.
But, of course, here comes good old Dolores.
Oh, yeah. So that's where I said I kind of felt like they could have did, or like you said too, they could have made a little more interaction with her and Beetlejuice, but it kind of felt like they did away with her character easily at the end. Like they're trying to build her up to be like almost a big bad villain in it, and then
I agree. Because like we said, she was mostly looking around for Beetlejuice. But one key detail that I actually just remembered, Astrid's dad. We found out that, he was supposed to be dead.
Right.
And then, of course, he actually saves Astrid the piranhas and everything, which was kind of weird. But I was actually wondering if he was still alive because, it didn't make sense as to why Lydia couldn't talk to him or couldn't see him. So it was interesting. I thought maybe there was a chance for him to be alive, but he wasn't. But it was nice to see them have that little reunion and then him bring them back to the real world.
Right. And I think that's pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, Beetlejuice pretty much, his, ex-girl comes in town. She's not too happy. We've got Jenna Ortega using the sandworm, and Beetlejuice using it to take down
Right.
Rory and Dolores, and it's pretty much over. Beetlejuice thinks that he's gonna have the time of his life being married to Lydia forever. Turns out that contract was voided, and it literally sets on fire because, of course, Ashley, being as perceptive as she is, contract sets on fire, Beetlejuice is gone, and we think it's all over. Everybody can live their happy lives.
And then the dream at the end.
Well, we didn't know it was a dream at first. I was convinced that it wasn't at first. I thought it might have been real.
Yeah. Baby thing again.
Well, when he exploded, I thought, like, man, like, in my head, I was literally thinking, like, what if they do, like, like a reincarnation of Beetlejuice? Specifically when Jenna Ortega was about to have the baby. I was like, man, that would be funny. And then it was kind of disturbing when little baby Beetlejuice actually popped up out of nowhere.
Right. But I feel like overall, Michael Keaton still delivered with the character pretty good. Even though he was older, like we said, and I felt like too though the dream sequence, like even after it showed that, and you thought she woke up at first, and then
Yes,
it
and
still
he was
showed
right
him.
there.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Yes, and that's why I think they kind of left it to, like, if they really want to do a number 3. Now, hopefully
Right.
they don't spend 30-something years doing it.
Yeah.
And of course, yes, Beetlejuice, and they could do another one with a third Beetlejuice.
Right.
Underneath.
If it's still with Michael Keaton, though, they need to.
They need
do
to
it
hurry
quick.
up.
Yeah.
Because he's getting up there.
Yep. So he ain't in a wheelchair.
90-year-old Beetlejuice still eating beetles and chasing after Lydia.
Right. Kind of like Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine till he's 90. But
Right.
anyway.
Crazy.
So what would you rate it overall?
On a scale of 1 to 10,
Yeah.
I'd give it a 7. I like the original.
Same.
And I'd give that about 8.5. Because the original is just iconic. But if you love Beetlejuice as much as I do, I definitely think you'll appreciate what Tim Burton did in the second one.
Yeah. I'd say if you're a fan, definitely go and see it. But I'd say the same. I enjoyed the original a little more. I would maybe give it out of a 1 to 10, probably a 6.5.
Okay, so we're pretty close. We're pretty close.
Maybe out of 1 to 5, maybe about a 3.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. That's fair. If we're doing 1 to 5, I'd give it a 3.5 then.
Okay.
Because I couldn't give it that full on. Because I didn't give it a full on 8 out of 10. So you give it a 4 out of 5, then it would be kind of in that 8 range. So I got to give it like a 3.5 if we're doing that way.
I'm not sure if we touched on it either, but I was going to say too, one thing I was interested to see, it being a Tim Burton movie and how he did all the claymation type stuff, practical effects too as well. And I felt like there was still some there. They definitely did use computer animation too, but I felt like it was a decent, mashup or blend of that. So.
Yeah, for sure. I always love it when people can have that balance between practical effects, and then of course there's always new technology, just different special effects and everything else.
Right.
But overall, I loved it, and I really do hope that they could potentially do a number 3. I'd be down to go see that.
Yep.
For sure.
All right. So a 7 and a 6.5.
Yep, a 7 and a 6.5.
All right. Well, we hope to see you next time.
Enjoy.
We hope you enjoyed this.
Hey guys, no new episode this coming week, but we hope that you enjoyed the free-form movie review. As always, like and subscribe.